Hey there! A while back, my apartment complex came under some new ownership, and with that came renovations. Basically, I had to move completely out and then back in. Oh, what a pain that was, let me tell ya. But by far the most important room in this apartment, at least to me, is my bedroom. It's a very personal space for me, and I've never really shared it on this channel before. So I'm gonna walk you through the process of unpacking everything, getting everything set up, and even making a few quality of life changes along the way. And with that, let's get started. My first order of business was to move all of these totes out of the room. The staff graciously provided these, which allowed me to store my belongings in the apartment during renovations. Unfortunately, this meant all of my possessions were left unattended in a construction area, including my computer. Speaking of, let's open up this box and check on her. You can see I stuffed a pizza pillow and some styrofoam in there for cushioning. After struggling to pull a box out from an almost perfectly snug fit, I eventually got her out, and she looks perfectly fine. Although there was some extra dust that wasn't there before for some reason. Quick lore dump here, this is Ava. I built her in late 2020 after my previous PC, Merlot, was murdered.
My PC was positioned underneath the air conditioner, and I didn't really think anything of that. You know, it's not like it's gonna fall on it or anything. Little did I know, air conditioners can leak. All of a sudden, I see these artifacts on my screen, and then I look over and I see a puddle on top of my computer.
I started a fundraiser for a new build, but I did not expect all the donations from friends, family, and even viewers from my old channel. I ended up reaching a bit over the budget. So I, of course, used every cent to create Ava, who has had some upgrades since, but is still going strong. I held on to Merlot, but when it came time to move out, I started downsizing, and that meant finally throwing him away. Still kept the side panel though. Anyway, I have this little fold-out table, which is where Ava is going to live. I moved her further away from the door this time because I kept bumping into her in the middle of the night. For my main desk, it's this weird, like, faux leather outdoor table I got from Walmart years ago. There are better options now, and I probably should have bought another one, but nah. With that, I decided to treat myself to a little upgrade. Can you guys guess what it is? It's a piece of styrofoam. No, it's actually a monitor riser. I always wanted one of these, I just didn't feel like messing with my setup at the time, but now is my chance. And of course, a monitor riser is incomplete without its monitors. I've been using this old VGA monitor as a second screen, but you will see me upgrade this pretty soon. You can see here I attached this wall hanger to my desk to hold my headphones. I am oddly proud of this. Here I'm trying to connect my speakers by having one on each side of the riser, but the cable is too short. Happens to the best of us. So instead I shove them underneath the riser, which is a terrible idea and you should not do this, but thankfully they still sound pretty good, so take a listen. Here I started to deal with cable management, and I filmed a lot of footage for this, but honestly I did a pretty bad job, although this is still way better than what I had before. But I still covered it up with my one-of-a-kind invention, the I Don't Care panel. This fits pretty flush against the wall, and it leans into the aesthetic of my room, so I'm calling this a win. The one thing I'll say here is you should always do cable management under the impression that you're going to undo it in the future, because you most definitely will, and if you use tape like I did, you're not going to be happy. Now that everything is roughly in place, I can turn on my PC and try out my new desk setup. And yeah, I love this. Before, my sightline was more like this, but this monitor riser is perfect. This is so much better for my posture, and it makes the monitors feel bigger, even though they're not. I didn't waste any time though, because next on my list was my closet. I have a lot of random things that I don't frequently use, so, you know, they go in the closet. And that includes my crowbar. You gotta have one. This really isn't anything special, it's still a disorganized mess, but I tried to arrange things by importance. For example, my high school binder that fell apart as soon as I opened it like one last giant middle finger from the past. Yeah, that can go underneath all this crap. Out of sight, out of mind. Now that the sun was down, I hauled my shelf back into the room, snapped the two halves together, and started repopulating it. I've already made 2 videos about my shelf, so I won't waste your time here. The only real difference is I removed the lights from my Splinter Cell shelf, because it was a hassle to turn off every single light in my room every time I wanted to go to bed. I'm curious what others do. Do you guys just, like, leave your RGB on all night?
No, get those lights off! Off! They're too bright, turn them off!
Next up was my craft drawer. Before, it was just a mountain of random junk, and I hated it. The old one had 3 big drawers, which is fine for clothes, but terrible for everything else. So I upgraded to a taller, thinner organizer with 6 drawers. I think it was supposed to be for shoes, so I dumped everything on the floor and roughly sorted it into some vague categories. I've got tools, clay stuff, adhesives, rags, wood stuff, and miscellaneous stuff. Speaking of rags, an interesting and slightly horrifying fun fact, Adam Savage once made a video about shop rags and gave a glowing recommendation to recycled surgical towels. Yes, used in actual surgery, then disinfected and sold. So naturally I bought some, and Adam was right. They're excellent rags. I use them every day. Back to the drawer, turns out it's just slightly too small for my paint station. So I cut a piece of particle board just a bit wider than the drawer itself, and there we go. Now I can stock up my paints. This paint station is another thing I'm proud of. It's definitely not the most space-efficient way to store paints, but is it accessible and cool? Absolutely, yes it is. Speaking of paint, for some reason I thought starting a new art project in the middle of this one was a fantastic idea. So I took this Samus sprite from Super Metroid and made it look like her new suit in Metroid Prime 4. Then, of course, I started painting it onto a canvas for my wall. I could have easily made this into its own video if I'd thought about it for more than 3 seconds. Right after I finished this painting by spraying a clear coat, I actually headed out with my brother for the midnight launch of the Switch 2. And boy, was that a memorable night. It suddenly started raining like crazy. We all had to buy umbrellas. My new shoes? Completely ruined. Yes, I did get one, by the way. Best Buy had plenty, so we all walked out with one. Anyway, here's the mess I made of my desk, and here is the finished painting. This took me like 3 weeks to finish. Before I can put anything on the walls though, I need to set up my new monitor. Well, new, I found it at a Goodwill for $7. First, I gave everything a good clean, disconnected the old monitor, and fished the new cables into place. Now I can give it a test, and for some reason the new monitor was being detected as my main one. No idea why, swapping the cables didn't help. Thankfully, Windows does have an option to set any screen as your main display. This monitor does look pretty good though, so if I am forced to play a game on it or something, it's not too bad. Now I can finally start on the last section of this project, the walls. First up is this Metroid poster. Easy enough, right? Well, for some reason, the thumbtacks kept ripping out of the wall. This frame is big, but it's not that heavy. I've used tacks before and it held just fine. Then I tried a screw, and that just started ripping the frame apart for some reason. So I did what any self-sufficient man would do, and I called my mom for help. She brought me a shoelace. Where did she get the shoelace?
Don't ask questions you aren't prepared to handle the answers to.
But hey, it works. You can see the shoelace sticking out on top, but I don't care. I'm just happy it's up there at this point. Now comes the part I've been dreading. I used to have this wall of games, with each box standing on 2 thumbtacks. It looked great, but it was impractical and a pain to set up. So I had to find a better way. I tried Velcro, and the first pack they sent me was all hook and no loop. Are you guys serious? Magnets? Completely useless. Actual dedicated mounts? 15 to 20 bucks for one! I was losing my mind. I needed answers. So I took a trip to America's finest store. I spent some time just looking around, and I actually ran into my old friend, Jack Skellington. He told me to check aisle 27, which is where I finally found my answer. Wood corner molding. After cutting these to size, all I really needed to do was clean the surface, line them with mounting tape, then just pick a spot on the wall and use a bubble leveler to keep it straight. I went ahead and did the same for the other two shelves, and I was finally able to display my games. This looks perfect. It is exactly what I wanted. We're not quite done yet though. I used one of the leftover cutoffs and some thick cardboard to make a smaller shelf for this DVD box set. And here I'm sticking some Velcro to my film clapper so I could put that on my wall too. With that done, I turned my attention to this blank spot on the wall. This used to be where my Switch games were, but now that they're on the other wall, I needed something else here. So I decided to make some simple paint splatter art to match the color scheme of the room. It was as fun as it looks. Once they dried, I stuck them up with mounting tape, and honestly, this is one of my favorite things from this project. They look even better when the room's finished. Next up is the rest of the Metroid stuff, starting with the painting I made earlier. Then came the Metroid Shrine. I started setting up the figures, but it felt empty. I used to keep my copy of Samus Returns in there, but I couldn't find it. So I called up my buddy Kraid for a quick modeling gig. Bless his soul. Once that picture was in place and the figures were back, the shrine already looked better. To finish it off, I decorated the top with some amiibos and my actual childhood copy of Metroid Prime. Very happy with this. The games wall was still looking pretty empty, so I went with a bold idea. Taking my old GPU and literally screwing it into the wall. This felt very wrong, but those holes are actually for support brackets and backplates, so no harm done. I also made a few more of those cardboard L brackets to hang up my hats. I wanted them to face outward, but I think you need some special mounts for that. This took a couple weeks to arrive, but I had this poster printed of one of my other favorite games, The World Ends With You. I actually struggled with this. I haven't tacked a poster straight to the wall in like 10 years. I usually buy frames, but after that Metroid poster, I wasn't about to mess with another one. I also thrifted this painting of a pineapple. My plan was to paint over it before hanging it up, but for now I just threw it on the wall. Otherwise there'd just be a big empty spot staring back at me. The last thing I built for this project was a small stand using the leftover particle board from earlier. It sits on top of my PC case and gives me a proper spot to display things without blocking the air vent. It does hang over the edges a little, which I'm not thrilled about, but it does work. And with that, I can finally call my room finished. It goes without saying, but I am very happy with how this space turned out. It feels like me. It's got all my stuff, all my little comfort things, and a lot of conveniences for just being creative. This whole renovation thing kinda blindsided me and ended up taking way longer than expected. I even had to put my other videos on hold just to focus on this one. But in the end, I'm glad I stuck with it, and hopefully you enjoyed seeing it come together. If you did, maybe consider sharing it with someone else who might like it too. And with that, I will see you whenever I can make another video happen. Until then, take care, keep your shoelaces safe, and have a good day.